How's it going, critter people? I hope you all are doing well. I've been suggested to, somebody asked for me to cover some more videos by Tom Davis, otherwise known as Upstate Canine Academy. I'm not a fan of his, especially given this title here. The harness created a dog training nightmare. So he already has this bias that, he is saying the harness created a nightmare, not the fact that the dog learned behaviors while wearing a harness, but it wasn't necessarily the harness that taught the behavior. It was just that the dog was not held back by a tiny piece of string, prongs in its neck, or a shock collar around its neck. The dog was not being corrected because the harness does not create pain. So that's really what that translates to, is that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's trying to fearmonger and just straight up lie and say that the harness or misinterpret it, that the harness created this nightmare. It's not the harness. The harness has nothing to do with it. The harness didn't cause pain. That's why the dog continued to learn bad lessons. The dog would still learn those lessons, but it just wouldn't react in that same way because of the pain. So, using this video footage under Fair Use Act for education, criticism, giving my point of view, trying to give a voice to the dog, and counteract the nonsense that he's about to spew, to these people and everybody else. So, that being said, don't go send anybody involved any kind of nasty comments or hate mail or anything like that. If you want to support him, by all means, please do. Go support him. That's your right. I don't suggest anything he does, but if you want to support him, go for it. If you want to support me, I would absolutely appreciate that. You don't have to, though. So, we're just going to get started. Cute little pitty. Nice little harness.
Better for him and for us. Like, he deserves a better life, and so do we.
Okay.
I'd much rather have a well-behaved man-eater than
kind of rough on the harness there, though. I do like this kind of harness, but I also don't. The way it's made is, you can see right here that this dog is pulling, and one, it limits the shoulder blade movement, and two, it really digs into the collarbone and into the I guess the trachea, esophagus. I'm no, clearly no doctor, clearly, but it digs right into here, which could also be just as harmful for this dog's breathing. But he's a cute one.
That was the basic: sit, stay.
Okay.
Heel, he's not.
Okay, well, heel is not an important thing. Like, heel is way overdone, I think. As long as he walks nice on a leash, like, yes, you can heel every now and then if you need to, or if you have like a working dog where you just want him to heel, fine. But heel should not be the everyday walk. Heel is just so controlling for the dog, and everybody says, that all these trainers, these big time trainers, all they ever teach is heel.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, it's just going to be helpful to have the heel down, because technically, if your dog is good at heeling, they shouldn't be lunging and.
Not necessarily. No, I disagree with that. You're just over controlling by keeping them by your side. In his case, not everybody who teaches heel. Your dog can still be just as nervous. Just because they're in a heel does not, and they're next to you and focused on you, does not necessarily mean they're not going to be nervous about anything else and lunging. You have to be more aware of the environment. So simply just, is this his sponsored video by showing the Yeti? I don't know. Clearly I'm not sponsored, but heeling, being in a position is not necessarily going to control, having your dog's body in a physical position is not going to necessarily control their mind. So he, of course, gets away from this wide band of this harness, which is nice and comfortable for the dog, to this tiny little rope slip lead, which is going to, one, cut off their air, and two, cause a lot of pain and discomfort. And that's how he trains. You will rely on this tool. As soon as you go back to a harness, by not teaching the dog how to not pull in a harness, which is actually takes skill, then you're just relying on pain compliance.
Saying out loud to you guys what I'm doing. With a dog like this, he could be a sleeper, right? So I've had dogs that have been very like this, where they're not.
So you're going to notice that it doesn't take a lot of pressure because it's very high up. There's a lot of nerves right here. If you want to know how this dog feels, put a shoelace or you can get a little rope, I don't know, a 1/4 inch rope or 3/4, whatever. Put it around your neck, tie it to the end of a doorknob, and then just walk into it at your own regular pace. I don't suggest you do that because you could hurt yourself doing that, but that's basically what he's doing here. or have somebody else just pull on, yank on it.
Showing any signs of why they actually came in, and then all of a sudden, boom, they tag your leg.
Trigger something.
Correct.
Well,
So
if they redirect on you, it's because of the environment, because you didn't prepare them for that. So we want to avoid that environment until we can prepare the dog to be ready for that.
well, I'm being very conscious of this, very mindful of this. I'm going to get close to you guys, and then you guys just ignore him. So I'm not looking at him. I'm not.
Ouch,
I'm
ouch,
being very
ouch,
passive.
ouch,
My
ouch,
body is
ouch,
typically
ow,
gonna be,
ow, 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 ow.
turn-
The dog is fighting because that caused a lot of pain.
I'm not. I'm being.
He only
very,
has to use a finger's worth of pressure to get this dog to move in. I could not do this to any dog if you had a gun to my head. Okay, I just could not do it. Now, if this were hooked onto his harness, could I do that? Sure. You know, because I mean, if he were really fighting the way he does, then I would stop pulling on him. But, I mean, this is how I teach pressure and release, but not like this. You know, and I wouldn't be pulling in front of them. I would be moving to the side, you know, doing other things. But, I mean, I can control my dog on a harness that hooks in the back, that doesn't have any of this restriction, like this on his 6-foot leash, leather leash, nothing tiny, you know, 1-inch leather leash with fingers, because I've taken the time to prepare my Shiba, and I teach every dog the same way in being able to give to pressure lightly without having to rely on pain compliance. I'll put a link to the video that I use. I'll put a little clip in here of how I teach and the example I give, as well as I'll put the link to how I teach it in the description below.
My body
Ouch,
is
ouch,
typically
ouch,
going to be
ouch, oh my God.
turned away from him like this.
Poor thing, lip lick.
Good.
He's fighting it, pulls
I want you
up.
to watch how this leash pressure works.
It works because it's a tiny strand around his neck that is kept there, and it hurts. That's how it works.
You see? I just basically took my hand and I cuffed it, and it just gave him a little resistance, and he pulled back. Confidence 101
Oh my
for me in this
God,
dog
that's
right now.
not a little bit of cuffing and him pulling back. That is
to
painful.
Decrease the resistance I get as I'm moving.
So he's talking about pressure and release. Now look how he's stress panting. He wasn't stress panting before. The only way I want to see a dog panting like this is if they've been, especially working with me, is if they've been running around after a ball or having fun playing with the hose. Okay, or if it happens to be warm outside, but we will be in a shady area with some water. We have stress lines, ears back, you know, the long lips. He's stress panting.
Away from you guys. Again, I want you to understand the big
thing.
picture here, the macro of what we're doing. This all is going to help with his confidence.
No, it won't. This is shutting down his outer behavior and keeping it locked up in his little, well, I was going to say little brain, but not that he's like stupid, but just, you know, he has a cute little head in his little head. So in his brain, you're getting rid of the, you're putting a Band-Aid over the symptoms, but you're not taking care of the root problem. You're just telling him, shut up and stop reacting. That's all this is. And one day he's going to build up and explode. Or this is going to be, or he's going to do the opposite and shut down because it's learned helplessness.
And ultimately will help with the reason why you came in with his reactivity towards people, because his lack of confidence.
That is true. This will not help him become more confident at all. It's going to trap him. It's like if you are terrified of going out in public and someone floods you and puts you there, but then they use, they flick you or shoot you with, you know, a BB or you know, paintball from a far distance to cause just enough pain when you start to react, to keep you from, you know, reacting. Do you feel any better? Probably not. Or if they you know, hit you with a rubber band, probably not going to help you. Same with him. Now, you can teach him to be comfortable around other people. I mean, I do it all the time. I specialize in this. By, you know, having him comfortable on a harness, having him in his own space, having the other people give him space, not looking at him, tossing treats to him, taking time. But he's a 5-minute trainer, and he's like Joel Beckman and all of them, Cesar Millan. They all have one tool in their toolbox. And if you only have a hammer in your toolbox, you're going to view every problem as a nail. So he only has the slip lead in his toolbox. So well, I guess he has a prong and shot collar too, but he has correction. That's it. So he sees every dog and he says, I can fix anything by using correction. And that was my knee that popped a couple of videos ago. My wrist popped. I'm apparently old and falling apart.
Blue, come.
Ouch.
So just a little bit of leash
Ouch.
pressure.
Ouch. So instead of lip lick getting ready, whale eyes, he's like, dude, please help me. This is the poster child. Please get me away from this idiot. So instead of actually calling him, and, you know, what I would do is I wouldn't rely on this. I would, you know, have the leash here. I would have the leash loose. I would move this way. I would move into him. As soon as he looks at me, I can say blue or make a kissy noise. Bend down my upper half to become more enticing to the dog and back away. I can walk backwards. But I would also practice that without having him on leash. If he's in a fenced-in area, I don't need him on leash. Ouch, 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 ow.
Good job. So he
Wow,
gives
and
that-
the only reward he gets is the relief of this pressure. I mean, it's still tied around his neck. It's not even a slip lead. It's locked there. It's a noose. And now the only reward he gets is that he's not choking quite as bad.
bucking resistance thing, very common.
Very common because the bucking resistance is caused, I just did a video on a horse, by pain. And you haven't learned how to avoid that because you don't know what you don't know.
It's basically him going, ugh.
No, he's saying, ow, 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 ow. Okay, fighting it is not helping. I move in, that stops the pain. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, he's like, fine.
He
I'm
says,
trying-
ouch, it hurts. He moves in. Okay, that's how I stop the pain.
And to decrease that. Blue, come.
He wants to go to his parents, and he's learning, ouch, ouch.
Buddy.
He says, okay, I'm with my captor now. My capture now. I'm developing learned helplessness.
Boy. I'm not petting him. I'm not touching him, although I certainly could right now if I wanted to.
Yeah,
I
no
don't do
doubt.
that because I work with so many reactive dogs.
That is one thing I will say that is good, but he's also not getting any other rewards. Not that petting would necessarily be a reward for this dog, but that's smart. I mean, I don't necessarily go petting dogs that I work with unless they're actively rubbing up against me and they show that they want, petting.
And I don't want to overbear them. I have nothing to prove to say, look what I can do right now.
Oh, really? But you'll just choke a dog and call it training and all that. But you won't touch him because you're at least smart enough to know that this dog, if they wanted to, they could turn and bite you. So you'll keep them at the end of their 4-foot short leash here.
That's disrespectful.
Really,
Just because
that's where you draw the line. That's where you draw the line of disrespectful, not choking the dog, causing fear and pain and intimidation.
Can doesn't mean I should, and I'm not doing
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Just because you can use this on a dog doesn't mean you should. Because you can train this way doesn't mean you should. Because you can do just about anything to a dog and call it training doesn't mean you should.
That for that reason. I just want to point that out, that some people will
That's
be
where
like,
he
look,
draws
look,
the
we're
line.
good. We are good, but I'm
Is
not
he
gonna
talking
pet
about
him.
Dog Daddy? Because Dog Daddy does that. He says, oh yeah, look, I just tamed this beast and I'll touch them all over, put my hands on their teeth, If that's a dig at Dog Daddy, Triple D, then,
Let's go this way. So I'm going to work on a little bit of
Ouch,
directional
ouch.
leash pressure moving forward now again, just to keep him engaged. I want to show you what that looks
He's trying
like.
to
okay?
run to Mom and
So I'm
Dad.
gonna
That was a
flick
little pop there. You didn't even see that. He's not going to tell them that he did that
pressure
little
moving
pop.
forward now again, just to keep him engaged. I want to show
Ready?
you what
Ready?
that looks like,
Pop.
okay?
Pop.
So I'm going to flick my wrist if he starts to walk past my legs.
Stress.
This is going to be the introduction to heel.
You
So
don't do heel. It's like training with training wheels. You start with a loose leash without relying on this, and then you can slowly shorten it to heel. Heel is it's like learning algebra, and you don't even know what 2 + 2 is.
Historically, the heel command is the dog walking at your heels. Okay?
And for
Yep.
short periods of time. Ouch.
Give him a little bit of pressure. Heel.
It was a pop, not a pressure.
Good.
Poor dog. He is so stressed.
So see
Wow,
that?
and they're
He's starting to go,
impressed.
What are we doing? So that's good. That's what I was talking about. Just right there. Like he
Poor
doesn't look
dog.
at you
He
guys
is
when you're
so
walking.
stressed.
No. So I'm not pulling him back. I'm not.
He doesn't need to because the pressure here is magnetized. Magnified? Maybe that's the word. I don't know. You don't need a lot because it's very sensitive here. If they knew what was actually happening, I don't think they'd be doing this because clearly they love their dog because they have this is a nice looking, harness on this dog.
Forcing him to stay here he's just starting to pick up, like, I have to be with this guy because
Stress
if I
painting.
don't, the pressure kind of turns on.
Because it hurts. Not the pressure kind of turns on. I have to stay here to avoid getting painful correction and tightening of this noose around my neck.
So right now we're doing negative
Ouch.
reinforcement. So if I apply pressure to him, the moment he commits to me,
That would be positive punishment. Negative reinforcement was what you did before with the leash. This is negative reinforcement. I apply negative reinforcement to teach a behavior that I want
Good
for you to
job.
come forward.
so he gets that bucking
If you go
resistance
forward
thing, very
and I don't want
common.
you to, I correct you, and that's
He's just
positive
starting
punishment.
to pick up. The moment he commits to me, the pressure goes away.
The pain goes away.
If you guys like this video or any other
So they're
piece
going
of
to have to
content,
rely on that leash there if they ever want their dog to listen.
A dog in general,
Right.
he turns around to
little
check him out to
thing.
make sure he's not about to get ambushed. In your terms, then again, he's crawling back into the driver's seat. Dad, get in the back. I got this.
No, he's not. He is just showing that he is anxious and nobody is listening. Now he's just not able to show he's anxious, but he's still anxious. I guarantee you that. So we have a shock collar on this dog. That's what that big ass thing is right there, shock collar.
So you see how distinctive that break is? So the reason why
The dog can still
demonstrating
have a good
two-toe-
life and be happy, but they still rely on that shock collar being on, because when it's not on, nice Crocs, when it's not on, then the dog might not listen. Funny how we have to rely on the tools, and, you know, we can't ever get away from it.
here, and
Oh, so now we move to a star mark collar, and he didn't say anything about that. Wow, okay. So we have graduated, and he's not going to talk about that. The star mark is even more correction than the slip lead. And we got a shock collar remote right here that they always so proudly hang around their neck. So this is the little stuff that people don't notice. Different day,
yes,
flooding him with lots of people, lip lick,
Got
and
it.
they have a star mark, which
Yeah.
is basically a plastic prong collar they have on the dog. Lovely.
That's all. So I'll show you, like with these guys, you could come up here
Shot
and
collar.
you have a proximity, right?
And probably a prong collar too. If you need a prong collar over there. If you need multiple collars on your dog, you don't know what you're doing. You're not these trainers are not skilled in anything. They're not skilled.
And you know that proximity of what
He
is going
is
to
purposely trying to avoid this dog, like the
be
plague.
okay for your dog in particular. So you can even go a little bit over that
Or
proximity
maybe he was looking at his owners.
with your body. So like he's telling us like where he's comfortable.
This is dangerous. This is just stupid, because if he's this confident, which is stupid, and this dog happens to go forward, the dog is going to be in trouble because the dog can get into a fight. The dog is going to be corrected. This dog will be corrected, probably with a prong and hit the shock collar button. Nonsense.
right. So when you come out like this and you're
Sit,
walking up
we're
towards
correcting
somebody
this dog.
and you stop, sit,
Ouch. Pop on
good.
that.
You can also
That worked because of the star mark collar, the plastic prong collar, which, trust me, just because it's plastic, they are sharp points. I almost feel like this is worse than the metal prong collar, but they're just as bad. I see this guy's hand going here. I don't know if he's telling the dog to sit or if he's hitting the button.
just do something like this. Hi.
Looks like he was holding on to his remote. This
Good, how
poor
are you?
dog doesn't care. He just
Good.
wants to be with his
So you could do
parents.
something like this too, where you can have the dog here. You can talk to
Or
him.
how about you just don't worry about it? If your dog has to be held back like this, then your dog isn't ready.
Other person.
Because this does not benefit the dog. It only benefits the human.
If you were to
How many collars does this dog need? Everybody here, everybody he teaches ends up with 3 collars. Jesus.
snap a picture and ask yourself like, who's in charge right here?
I don't care who's in charge. If I see a picture like this and people say, who is in charge? I would automatically say, you know what? That dog looks stressed. That dog does not look happy. And I would notice that that's a star mark collar. And if anybody says, who's in charge here of this picture? I automatically know that they're dummy and they don't know what they're talking about because they worry about who's in charge. You know what? I would be happy if someone had their dog right next to them or even ahead of them and they could say, who's in charge? Because that means that they don't care.
Here, or even like
That would be perfect. I would be like, hey, I would see that and I would say that's a great picture. You know, that's a cool dude and his dog, until they ask who's in charge. Then I would say, okay, you're an idiot.
Here with an insecure dog. So you just take control of that space with your body.
Pull.
Go ahead and try it.
What happened there? There was a cut there. Did he correct the dog? Did he pop the dog?
Just try it with these guys over here with the puppy. Good sit. Much better. And that's how
What
you
happened? Did you correct him? Prong collar over here.
would just kind of block out that space. You know, like if you're meeting somebody
Really
and you're just
uncomfortable.
unsure. Especially like when you get somebody you don't
Stress panting.
know what
This
they're going
dog
to do.
is also stressed. They're
and they
just not
don't have a
panting,
dog.
whale eyes, their ears are back. They're just nervous.
And they're kind of eyeing. You just kind of.
What if there was no dog and she wanted to pet him?
It's a very quick like, oh, sorry, my dog's in training. And to be honest, when
That's
you're out
good,
with
I
a
agree.
reactive dog that is not going to do well with
And especially if you have any reactivity, you never use aversive methods with them, because you teach them to hide the outward emotion and eventually it will lead straight to a bite. Because you teach them, I can no longer tell you and communicate to you through my own language that I am nervous and back away. If you correct a growl, you correct a snap, you correct a lunge, then eventually it's going to go straight to the bite. That doesn't mean you reward any of that, but you listen to it. Okay, my dog does this, so I'm going to control the environment and manage it and slowly teach my dog they don't need to be afraid of this. That doesn't mean that they have to accept petting from other people. They may never accept it, and that's okay. Dogs have rights. They should, anyway. They can give consent and take it away. But what idiots like him teach are that, no, our dogs don't have rights. You are property and you will do what I say, and I'm going to show you off because I can, and if you don't listen to me and my ignorant human ways, then I'm just going to cause pain compliance.
new people. I just try not to make eye contact with anybody. You just keep going and understand that this is your new norm, and it certainly could be your new norm.
Yeah, this is your new norm. This poor dog, you're going to rely on pain. You have to rely on this one tool. You're going to teach this dog to become a neurotic psychopath in a straitjacket. You're going to teach him that he can no longer communicate with you in a way that is natural for him. You're going to make him ultimately more dangerous. And you're going to make other people think that they can do whatever they want because he's no longer telling them to back off.
As long as you
rely on these tools.
need to do the things that you need to do.
You need to do, which means you
And
have to
you're
rely
just
on
in
these
the
tools
city
and
and
corrections.
people are trying to approach. It's a very easy just, hey, he's in training.
Had a session with like 10 dogs, and
It's called flooding. I mean, unfortunately, they don't know what they don't know. But, you know, I mean, it's common sense. So, I mean, I've been there before. And where my Shiba was, you know, I went to a trainer that made him worse. And I didn't like that they used a prong collar on him. But I thought, you know, I agreed to it, even though I didn't agree with it. I agreed to it because I thought, okay, well, it's temporary. Maybe, you know, they know better. But no, you can still, you know, I still learned later on that, no, that's stupid. If I can change my own mind before I'm even 30 years old, you know, before I was even 25 years old, be able to stick with my beliefs and say, no, I'm getting rid of this prong collar, I'm getting rid of this choke chain. It's not helping. It's making things worse. Then they can do it at whatever age they are. I mean, I hope that they, you know, give peace to your dog. You know, I really hope that they can open their eyes and say, you know, this is not right. Not just because someone is loudmouth and famous and get results are not all about, you know, it's not just about the results. It's about how you get them. So anyway, that is my review of Tom Davis and you know, what he's all about. That's my review of this video. The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject. So that is for all the haters that'll come in the comments and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're able to learn something. Let me know what you thought of this video. Go give your little critters some kind of loving that they enjoy. Say howdy do for me. And until next time, stay positive.